I figured I'd make at least one more update video before going in for bottom surgery. And besides, there was actually a few things I wanted to talk about this month, and no time like the present. So I guess the first thing to mention is, surprisingly, I have something more on the physical side to mention. My chest appears to be getting bigger. It's kind of one of those things where it's anecdotal. People will be like, ooh, it takes a while. An average puberty takes like 5 years or something, so things take a little while to develop. And I'm like, yeah, right. It's been like a year and nothing's really happening. And then it's like, hmm, you know, maybe there is something happening. And it's pretty exciting. It's nice to just kind of see that the HRT is doing something other than just kind of sitting there and slowly working its magic. I know that it's definitely changed my face, but I'm not really sure how, in all honesty. All I just know is I look at this face and I'm like, hey, I look good. And then I look at old photos and I'm just like, oh gosh. I could see why I never liked looking in the mirror when I was younger. But I remember I was talking with another friend about this, and I think she put it into perspective. I had been struggling a lot with trying to get my hormone levels under control, and, well, perhaps this is just my body finally getting more E in my system than T. But either way, it was just kind of a pleasant surprise as I'm like, I seem to be getting a little fuller. It's kind of hard to talk about this sort of thing, as I kind of want this to be more for a general audience, and, well, talking about such things is a little on the racier side of things, shall we say. Another thing was a video I saw. The subject was, will dysphoria go away as you get further along with transitioning? I figured this was something I wanted to throw my hat in the philosophical ring of. I guess it's really hard to say, as, well, if I just kind of go back to how I felt before, it was just this general feeling of depression. I didn't necessarily have the best childhood or a lot of other good things in my life, so I'm just like, well, it's probably got to be all that. But then in starting the transitioning, it's like, oh wow, life doesn't have to be all suffering and darkness all the time. There can actually be a fair bit of light. And once I saw that light for the first time, I'm just like, I want more. Give it to me. Shine in your full radiance. It's really a strange thing that after I started transitioning was when I really started to feel dysphoria. All these little things I just put up with because I didn't know I had to were just like, get rid of it. I don't want it. I want to be happy. I got no patience for things that do not bring me happiness anymore. But as I've gotten further along, it's kind of waned a little bit. I mean, basically every time I walk by a mirror these days, I'm just kind of like, I look pretty good. I never had that before. But I will admit, if I look really close into a mirror, I do kind of start to notice some of the more finer details. Like, for instance, whenever I smile like this, you'll notice there's just kind of a whole bunch of wrinkles on either side. Or there's a bit of like a red patch here. I'm not really sure if that was like a burn from the laser or if maybe that's just some sort of skin condition. But I think even more than that is, I really look closely, like right underneath my lip, or right above, or maybe even just on the edge of my chin is where I see a lot of stubble growing. Which is very annoying because I've been going for laser hair removal for a long time. But then again, I guess that's just who I am as a person. I didn't like shave for like 3 days and I could just get a full on beard before, so it's a lot better than that. But those little things really start to bring me down because I'm just like, come on, I've been transitioning for how long? I figured I would be done with this already. It's kind of the same way I felt with voice training, as some people have told me that the average to get a cis voice is like 6 months. It's been years. It sounds a lot better than it used to. I mean, just kind of watch some of my older videos for comparison, but there's still many people that call me a guy, and I think that's the reason why. But even more than that is I feel like my voice sounds halfway decent, but when I hear it again when I'm going through the editing, I'm just like, oh, why is my voice so deep? And those little things seem to hurt more than they did before. It's strange, as on the whole, I feel like I have less dysphoria, but when I do, it hits a lot harder than it used to. But I think maybe the other big thing that really gets to me is whenever people misgender me. In the beginning, I was like, I don't care. You can use my old name, my own pronouns. All I just want is a female body because the male one just did not make me happy. I did not feel comfortable in it, and here I not only feel comfortable, but I like what I see. But, well, for the most part, I mean, that's why I'm getting bottom surgery. I just kind of think back to the SpongeBob episode Artist Unknown, where the art critic comes in, sees the beautiful sculpture that SpongeBob made. However, Squidward wanted to add his own touch with the Squidward nose. For me, I very much feel like that art critic. Whenever I see myself, I'm just kind of like, hello, this is the only flaw. Ah, much better. And I get the feeling that's very much going to be my experience once I get this surgery. But even more so than that, I've just been having a lot of intense episodes of just extreme happiness. Knowing what my life is going to be like after I get this surgery, it's really exciting. But at the same time, for every moment I have this extreme euphoria, I guess is really the best word for it. There's just this fear of what's going to happen. This is the third time I've attempted to have bottom surgery, and it seems like something always comes up, and that fear is just still ever lingering. It's like what I've been telling everybody whenever they ask, are you nervous? For the surgery itself, no. I have total confidence in this surgeon. It's just getting to that surgery room. And I guess maybe that's another thing to bring up as well. So, to kind of prepare you for what you may expect when it comes to bottom surgery, doctors all have their own rules and whatnot, but what's generally agreed upon is that you need to clear the area of hair first, which I've already taken care of that. And the other big thing, and at least this is what my surgeon is requiring, is that you have to clear out your bowels before going in. This is in addition to not eating anything 12 hours before the surgery. Or is it 24 hours? I forget the number. Anyway, if you were to take an anatomy course, you would see why that would highly be recommended. And that is one of the things I'm a little nervous about going forward, is it seems like the exhaust is a little too close to the intake, but then again, this is a design that has evolved over thousands of years, and I don't hear, well, there are like yeast infections, but I'm not really sure if that's caused by that sort of thing. But like, that's just one of the minor things. Just everything else. I do hope that this isn't annoying, but I'm just so excited. This is something I've wanted since I've been at least 16 years old, and now that I know it's a reality, there's a part of me that's just like, I can finally make my dream come true. But there is also just a part of me that's like, is this possible? Like, it just feels a little too good to be true. The idea that I can actually feel happy with my body, but all these little steps I have taken along the way have proven that it's true. You can be happy. And it really all starts with you taking the very first step. Come to think of it, that probably should have been a bit of a closer, but I do have a few other things I wanted to throw out there as well. One of the major things that was discussed this month is how it feels hearing my dead name. This is something I've talked to with friends, my therapist about. It's very difficult for me. I'm not sure if this is something everybody has gone through, and in fact, now that I think about it, how many people know what a chalkboard is these days? But there are certain noises, like maybe really high frequency, maybe loud sounds that like physically hurt your ears, or you even feel a little disgusted within hearing some of those sounds. That is very much how I feel when I hear my old name. It's almost like being a Vietnam War vet and you hear the distant roar of an M16. You're all of a sudden brought back there into the jungle to relive all the nightmares that you've just spent so much money trying to convince yourself that it didn't happen. It was all just a bad dream. It'll go away. It can't hurt you. But it does. It very much does. And that was one of the things my therapist was thinking about, is how in the world can I turn this name around to make it seem more like a positive thing in my life. Which I have been racking my brain like crazy trying to figure out how I can make it a positive. And I can't. At least not as of now. Perhaps I might run into a good friend that might have this old name of mine, and perhaps in me calling that name so often I can just say that's his name. That's not my name. Trying to figure out how to create another association, I guess that's all I can think of. But as of now, hearing that old name triggers flashbacks, brings me back to a time where I was just not happy with my life. It's kind of funny, really. People tell me that when you reach the age of 30, it's all downhill from there. But in all honesty, I found life is just incrementally been getting better and better with each passing year, and it feels like only now my life is beginning, rather than just trying to struggle, trying to keep the faith that the sun will indeed come up tomorrow. If you're trans and you've found a way to be able to work past your dead name, feel free to leave a comment, because I figure if I can look at this more objectively, maybe it might get a little easier. Like a lot of things that I've talked about, it was another video I saw on YouTube. It brought up a really interesting perspective. It's something people may agree or disagree with, but it was something that very much resonated with me. And that was the idea that, like, boys in school were being repressed. Things that they considered cool, like martial arts, guns, buff, masculine people. such things are very much frowned upon when it comes to the school system. It's all about that idea of trying to be another brick in the wall. That's definitely something I resonated with, as I was very much that kid. Not only did I like these things so much, but I was not a person that wanted to conform. I wanted to be an individual. And, well, I guess nothing's really changed in that aspect, is I want to be my own person. And it's something that's really crazy to think about, is I was just so used to being repressed in a lot of different ways that realizing I was trans was just breaking through one of the many bonds that felt like it was holding me back. The last thing to mention before ending this video is, in just trying to figure what my life will be in the future after this surgery, the idea of my sexuality is something that's very much been coming into question for me. It's a rather fascinating thing, as aesthetically and romantically, I find women far more attractive. But yet, there are a few exceptions to the rules I've run into. But I think this is the thing that just confuses me, is most of the exceptions are characters that have very feminine qualities. Which, if that's the case, why don't I just date a woman that's just all feminine? But then again, there is the idea of masculine women, perhaps, but yet that doesn't really do it so much. But I guess the biggest thing that's really been confusing me is, like I say, romantically and aesthetically, I find women far more attractive, but sexually, I'm kind of coming around to the idea of liking men. Which, it's something that's kind of shocking to me. It's very strange, as there are times where I can just kind of be like, you know what? If I'm exploring my gender, I might as well explore my sexuality. Let's see what I like and what I don't like. But yet, there are some things that I'm starting to like that, why do I like this? The body likes it, but the mind's just like, ew, but why do you want this? A little bit of a disconnect. I guess there's a bit of a phrase some people have said there, but once again, trying to keep it for a general audience. But I guess really the main thing that's really starting to get me a little more interested in guys is being able to use the new equipment properly. I think that's the only way I can describe it without having to make this an 18 plus video. But that's like the only thing when it comes to the idea of sexually liking men, because in going through HRT, I found that my sense of smell has gone up, and I get the idea that there are some women out there that they like to wear their boyfriend's clothes because it has the smell of their boyfriend. But there's just been so many men I bumped into in my life where I get like really close to them and I'd be like, oh, what is wrong with you? For a while I thought it was just because they didn't shower that day or whatnot, but no, that's just what the natural musk of some men is, and so the idea if somebody was that close to like even just hug me, I'd probably just be touching them and be like, okay, that's enough. I need room. Give me air. This smell is bad. But I think probably the thing that kind of disturbs me the most about it is, I remember when I first heard about people transitioning, It was this idea that it could change your sexuality. And when I first heard about it, it sounded a bit like mind control almost, like, ooh, you shall be assembled, you will be part of the Borg, one of us, one of us. And I'm like, what? No, I don't want that. And so there is still kind of that fear that I am being indoctrinated into the hive mind. But I think even more than that, I think the major issue I have when it comes to the idea of liking men is they represent everything that I hated about myself. And I just kind of look at some men, and the first thing I just see is a prisoner, just like me. And I'm here on the outside enjoying the sunshine and the frolicking and the whatnot. And I want to be able to dig a tunnel to be able to get them out. But yet, they don't want to leave. That is the life that they want. I get the feeling I've made this analogy before in another video, but it's still very relevant, and it's still a very complicated thing for me. I think that's really about all there is to mention. As for the future, I guess if things pan out, I might be able to start making these update videos again. Perhaps sometime in early March. It really all depends on how long it takes me to heal. Either way, I do have a lot of videos planned for my hiatus. For those of you that stuck around, I want to thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm very amazed that these little videos have gotten as many views as they have. It means a lot. As per usual, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about that is not politics, feel free to leave a comment down below. And until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.